chart sometime and tell me how that's going. And it colors how we think about killing each other. Spoilers, we're going to talk a lot about that when we reach the twist of this video. And it colors how we think about sickness. The philosopher Deborah Lynn Steinberg was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2007. And in her article, The Bad Patient, she talks about how American hospitals portray cancer in advertising. In particular, she focuses on what they don't say. Unsurprisingly, hospital adverts almost never mention death or loss. A lot of women in these ads, she says, are smiling. There's no mention of the role that luck plays in treatment, no mention of the fact that not everyone can afford it, and the possibility of refusing treatment, which some people do, is also never mentioned. Okay, literally, here's an example of this that I just found on Ventura Boulevard in LA. Boom. Holy shit, is that Morgana Ignis? Steinberg says these ads aren't really selling treatment, they're selling an identity. You can become a good cancer patient by adopting a particular attitude towards death. And that attitude is, shut up! And even when we do think about death, we often get it wrong. Caitlin Doughty, also known by her YouTube handle Ask a Mortician, wrote a book called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes about her time working in a crematory, in which she points out that whenever we see bodies in film or TV, they are of course played by living actors. They don't look how real corpses look. But this then affects what people expect their loved ones to look like at a funeral. Funeral directors have to put in a lot of work to make a corpse appear natural. We're talking makeup, but also pins, stuffing, padding, wires, and sometimes superglue.
Untreated, a dead person's face looks horrific, at least by our very narrow cultural expectations. Their droopy open eyes cloud over in a vacant stare. Their mouths stretch wide like Edvard Munch's The Scream. The color drains from their faces. These images reflect the normal biological processes of death, but they are not what a family wants to see. As part of their price list, funeral homes generally charge anywhere from $175 to $500 for setting the features. That is how corpses come to look peaceful, natural, and at rest. It is a not-so-well-kept funeral industry secret that the processes used to make someone appear natural are often highly unnatural.
Now I'm trying to think, have I ever played a corpse in my acting career? And fun fact, when my character dies in Star Wars, in the wide shot, my corpse is played by a body double because I wasn't available on that day. So my corpse was literally played by a model on TV, which is quite funny. And I guess my character dies in The Prince, although spoilers, she does come back. And in Dracula's ex-girlfriend, Belladonna is technically dead, but she's quite lively despite that, so. Another thing Caitlin says we get wrong, we often think of our bodies as one complete unit, but in reality, they come apart. Some of your ashes get left behind in the cremation chamber. Most of a corpse is water, which goes up the chimney. If you have an autopsy, they peel your face off so they can examine your brain. I hope they don't take my face off. It was expensive. People don't know about this stuff, and they don't want to know. And that's a problem. But you don't just have to take it from me. We can ask the woman herself. So please, welcome to the show, author, YouTuber, and host of Ask a Mortician, Caitlin Doughty.
Why is it so difficult to be a human? Here's a theory from my favorite academic of the swinging interdisciplinary 70s, Ernest Becker.
Man is literally split in two. He has an awareness of his own splendid uniqueness in that he sticks out of nature with a towering majesty. And yet, he goes back into the ground a few feet in order blindly and dumbly to rot and disappear forever.
On one hand, the breadth of human experience extends far beyond our puny mortal frames. In the sumptuous palace of our minds, we can backstroke through the Milky Way, dive alongside transparent anglerfish in the Mariana Trench, soar over the Andes, cross over into parallel dimensions, even construct the pearly gates of heaven. What magic! Small gods we humans are, skipping merrily through the cosmos. But remember, man is split in two. On the other hand, humans are haunted, subtly, sometimes not so subtly, by the knowledge that no matter the majesty of our inner or outer lives, the ultimate end for us and everyone we know is death. Not just death, the aging and failing of our fallible meat sack bodies. Decomposition, the buildup of bacterial gas leading to the splitting of our abdomens and dissolving of flesh from bone. To go from master of the cosmos to food for worms?
The absolute indignity!
Becker would argue that humans can't directly acknowledge the reality that we live in bodies destined to fail and decay, so instead we find creative ways to deny it. Humans create hero projects for themselves, with the hope that these projects will keep away the knowledge of death and make them immortal. Hero projects range from financial success, career success, community success, religion, having children, and on the darker side, war, prejudice, and exclusionary cultural systems. In short, if you can succeed in your culture, if your culture loves you and respects you, perhaps you will be less haunted by the existential threat of your eventual corpse. Now, this painful duality, the pretty cosmic princess, eventual gnarly corpse paradox, is not new information. Becker acknowledges this. Yet, he says,
everyone is carrying on as though the vital truths about man did not yet exist.
The writer Cormac McCarthy, RIP, said,
Death is the major issue in the world for you, for me, for all of us. It just is. To not be able to talk about it, it is very odd.
Perhaps no generation has disavowed the truth quite so strongly as the one we currently live. Everything from the internet to the preservative powers brought to bear on modern corpses in the funeral system, to the promises of AI and cloud immortality and corporate-backed life extension, have all made it easier than ever to live in denial that the vital truths about man are known and have been known. The work of my life thus far has been an attempt to address Becker's rot and disappear forever paradox. What if, stay with me, rotting and disappearing forever is not a threat, but in fact, the point? What if we leaned into rot and disappear forever, embraced rot and disappear forever? Hooray! Maybe made rot and disappear forever part of our own hero project. This is exactly why we're seeing a return to burials that allow our body to decompose directly into the soil. Or newer methods of disposition, like human composting, where your dead body literally transforms into soil. Some of us no longer want to hoard resources when we die. Haven't we done enough of that through our lives? We want to be the resource, offer at the very least our atoms back to the universe. One way of becoming a hero, becoming immortal, is not denying death through some other means, but accepting and celebrating the ways in which we can rejoin and nurture the natural cycles of life on this planet, and by extension, break down some of the fear of death that otherwise leads to hero projects based in violence, overconsumption, or exclusion.
Hi, welcome to my home. This is where I make Philosophy Tube when we're not on set. As I was researching this episode, I started thinking more about my own legacy and this concept of hero projects. And I decided I want to get a will. And I don't think I'm going to be needing one anytime soon because I'm pretty healthy and I don't know anything about Boeing. But I just thought it'd be a good way of practically applying this philosophy and confronting my own mortality. So I spoke to a lawyer. And they gave me 3 death jobs. I kind of feel a bit like Jenny Nicholson shooting this in here. Wait, no, actually, hang on a second. Okay, now I feel like Jenny Nicholson. Death job number 1, find an heir. If I die tomorrow, everything I have would go to my parents, kind of return to sender. I don't have any kids, and I don't think I'm likely to. My boyfriend and I keep trying, but for some reason he just can't get me pregnant. I don't think we're likely to get married either. He's not very keen on it, and neither's his wife. So I need an heir. I should do some kind of fan competition. Like I should say my 2 millionth subscriber will inherit everything. That's not legally binding, that was a joke. It's kind of a bitter lesson though. Everything I have, everything I've worked for, all my hero projects, it's all ultimately borrowed. Someday it's gonna have to go to somebody else, and they won't have worked for any of it. In her book,